Ellen here. Good day, doctors.
Go!
You're watching Dr. Politics.
Good Wednesday evening, everyone. You are watching Dr. Politics and the Political Architect Show. Welcome, everyone. It's
Did you say Wednesday evening?
I know. Did you just
Did I
say
say Wednesday? I did. That's how busy of the week was. So it is Friday. It is Friday. Tomorrow's Saturday. I go to Micro Center and buy my new desktop. Yeah,
Which I still think is overpriced, but whatever.
I do too, but it's one of those things. It's like, I understand now when women say, "Oh, I just had to have that purse that's $1,500." I just have to have it, so to speak. Actually, I actually do, because my current desktop is from 2015, 2014. It's given a good run,
Well, my desktop is from 2009, so, I've upgraded the components since then, obviously, but the chassis of it is still from 2009, so.
I don't do that. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. Because you remember the old days?
It's called saving money.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember the old days, right, Jeff, when...
We're living in the old days.
Well, no. Remember the old days, like when... Because I used to build computers in college. I mean, it's, I think, Don, we may have built a machine at AIM once
Yeah, I think.
with components. I think we did that at AIM once. We took pieces of a gateway and a bunch of other... But you had to do those dip switches. You had to pull them up, put them back in, plug it in, see if that works. You had to do it all. Now you don't have to do all that stuff. I know it's gotten a lot easier, but now it's just I don't have the time to do it.
2008, so let me see. That's the...
That would be
Is that
Jaguar.
I'm trying to think. The Mac. You're talking like you got a MacBook or the Mac Pro? So I think the Mac Pro is the trash can. Was because I think around that. Well, 2009 I think was still doing the cheese grater Mac Pros. I have one of those actually, but yeah, the MacBooks, the older ones. It's kind of funny if you look back to them. Seeing like ones that actually have a CD-ROM player and stuff. Is kind of brings back memories because Apple was the first computer company to do away with the CD-ROM drives in computers.
Yeah.
Yes, Mac Pro Tower. Yep. So I have one of those. I got the cheese grater. Unfortunately, it's just like how I love Apple's designs, but unfortunately, my Mac Pro, the Tower, because like the last version of OS it's on is like Catalina or something like that. It's just like I can't get it to update anymore. So I've tried all the hacks and stuff, and I could get it to run newer versions, but it's just like it gets harder and harder. So I'm like, at this point, it's just like I have really no use for it, unfortunately.
Do they have like the 20? Do they make the 27 iMac now? Do they make those still?
The what? The 27 inch?
20. Yeah, now they're all seem to be 24s.
Yeah. So Susan's saying, yeah, 2 CD drives. Yeah,
You gotta love their
drives
website.
too.
I mean, they're really sleek. The website's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, how long do you hold on to a computer when you're no longer getting security updates? That's the thing.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. So Susan's saying that she's hers is still running. Mine's still running too. I can't use it for anything because Safari isn't updated anymore. They've stopped doing Mac OS updates for it. So, I mean, I could technically use it for some things, but I don't know. It just it's unfortunately it seems like it's finally outlived its usefulness. So I
No,
have
Jeff,
it
keep
sitting
that
in the
around
corner.
because we'll use that when the Borg take over all the computers. We'll need a computer system that is not connected to any of the other systems, so we can use that to go destroy the Borg cube. They brought the old Enterprise back for. Spoiler warnings if anybody hasn't finished watching
with a Mac
Picard.
with a Mac Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can still, I mean, you can still use your computers to write using Word or Excel or whatever,
Yeah.
but if you don't connect it, you're not risking anything, right? You just use it offline locally. It'll be fine. These machines are
Well,
pretty
that's the thing. It's like I used to use Apple's Lightroom, and well, it's not Lightroom. The what is it?
Adobe
Aperture. I
Lightroom.
it wasn't Adobe. It was Apple's Aperture, which was a great photo editing software, and then they stopped supporting it. So it's just like I had to convert all the stuff from Aperture to Lightroom, which wasn't a big deal, but I mean, I liked the interface of Aperture. I thought it was a really good program.
Actually,
But
Apple
again,
had a really
Apple
good
just
video. What was their video editing program that was really good?
Final Cut.
Yeah.
Yes. Do they still make that?
Well, no, it's kind of it's still there, but it's not been updated. So again, great program, great interface. It's just they stopped doing it, and back in the day, the Apple Mac was like the creative workstation people. I loved my tower because it was extremely upgradable. You could upgrade the processors, the memory. Get newer graphics cards for it. It was a great system and really powerful for its time. It's just Apple has just kind of said, well, it's like they don't really care about the stuff anymore. Now that they're doing their own hardware, so they've got the M1 chip and M2 chips, which are good chips, but they're moving off Intel, going to the RISC-based architecture, and again, they can do whatever they want to. It's just I feel like they kind of lost they deviated too far from the PC community, and so the people who want to do video editing now, they need the power. You either have to spend a gazillion dollars to get the new Mac Pro, or they just go to PC, which and spend a third of the price for the same capabilities. And part of the thing is like Blackmagic, all their stuff is based upon PCIe cards and stuff like that for the high speed editing. You can get that for the Mac, but it's just again you're spending a lot more money. So I can do the same thing with my PC much faster because you got with NVIDIA and the graphics capabilities. It does hardware encoding and editing and such. So I don't know. I really wish Apple would kind of go back to its roots and say, okay, we're going to reinvigorate the creative community and cater that audience again and actually help them. Because I mean, again, I can do a lot with my Mac Pro, my MacBook Pro, and I can do like photo editing and such. But it's still not as nice as it was on the desktop. So,
But I tell you, one of the things one of the things I do like about a Mac, and now actually that I've got 4K monitors also, not 4K, 2.5K monitors and a 4K monitor. Used to be on a Mac, your websites or any graphics would look so much sharper and so much crisper than on a PC. But now with the better monitors that are out there, like the 2.5K, 4Ks, they look just as good.
well, again, because Apple, again, going to the creative cloud, the creative crowd, not cloud. Apple had calibrated monitors. They actually had stuff that if you're doing photo or video editing, you had a monitor which actually was past the normal specs of normal monitors. Again, it was just a great editing platform for creative professionals. But nowadays, it's just like it's not that big a deal. You get a normal IBM PC-ish system. You can get the color calibrated monitor and such, and get the same stuff. Adobe makes the same programs for PC as well as Mac. So it's just like Mac has kind of lost its niche in that market because at one point it was like the thing to have because if you wanted to have a really great quality monitor, they had like this with the Retina display. They had it was color calibrated. They had the ICC charts for all the monitors and stuff. So it was really good out of the box for editing. And now it's just like it's just kind of out of the reach for most people. And you can do the same thing on the PC. It's just it takes a little more setup work.
Yeah, I mean, I think price point on the new iMacs, I want to say, are crazy expensive. And I tell you, the one thing about I mean, I like the iMacs. They kind of look sleek. They take up a lot less room. But I tell you, the price point on an iMac with all this stuff, by the time you get it the way you want, I mean, Jeff, you probably remember, I mean, you and I are old enough to remember when Mac used to charge separately for every component of it. Like, I think they charged separately for a keyboard, while PCs would always bundle everything together. You wouldn't notice the price change, you know.
Well, yeah. So the Mac had the option where you could get like the Magitrack mouse and the different kind of keyboards and stuff. And I don't know if they still offer those or not. The issue I have is the fact that they've tried to like integrate all the components, like solder them on the motherboard. So like what you spec out is what you get. You can't upgrade the CPU, can't upgrade the memory, can't upgrade graphics. Everything you have is just what you get. You can't upgrade the hard drive. So
Actually,
it's
the prices are not insanely high. I thought they'd be a lot higher. But these are only 8-core machines.
Compared to PCs, they're still more
Yeah, I
expensive.
mean-
And the problem, like I said, is that you don't have any flexibility. Once you get it, that's all you have. So you kind of steers people to spending the high end dollars because there's no upgrade for it. What was you saying, Don?
Apple has always priced their the computers in the premium category, and their sleek design and the integration, the whole ecosystem that they've built. That's where people are willing to pay for all of that. Their earnings that they released, they had the second quarter in a row.
Because this is what they are, Don. This is what they think they are. They think they are a Cadillac of PCs.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a time. I mean, like I thought I would never own a Mac, but now it's all I'm all Apple for everything that I do, and Apple's direction. Apple is not. I mean, they have hardware, obviously, but their hardware is not the bread and butter. They do that because they need to do it, but it's what drives them. Our iPhone sales and services,
Yep.
all that stuff between their, you have their cloud service, you've got Apple TV Plus, all of these things. That drives their growth. I mean, services is their biggest growth engine that they've got. So
True, and I love their iPhones, but I don't like their. They don't have like a control key or a Windows key. They got an Apple key. They don't actually have control keys on the Apple keyboard, correct? They got the.
Well, they have the it's like the alternate key. It's a kind of option key. So
Remember, they used to have the open Apple and closed Apple key. They did different things.
that was the Mac Classic. That was back in the black and white Mac days. Yeah.
I think that may have been even before that, the Apple IICs and IIEs.
They had those two back then too. So that
yeah, I mean,
I'm
I'm
Apple IIs
on
and Apple
MacBook Air
IIgs.
now. We've got a control key on my MacBook Air, which is an M1.
Is it an Apple keyboard or is it a third party keyboard?
No, so I'm on a MacBook Air, so it's the keyboard.
Oh, okay. I was thinking the Mac. You said Air. I was thinking the iPad Air.
Yeah.
But MacBook Air. Yeah, I didn't realize that those. I guess my Mac. I was looking at my MacBook Pro. It does have a control key now, so I guess it's people use the control, but the control is at the caret, and the option is the weird slanty line, the curved slanty line, like looks like
And they want you to use, I think, the command key a lot too, or something. For a lot of things.
Yeah. So the command is like is they used to have like a whole methodology behind it. Like the command was like for like print. You do like command P for print and other kinds of things like that. And the the option was like for alternate, like if you want to do umlaut or some character like that. And the control was like for like if you like control B for bold or something like that. So they had like a whole reasoning for like what should keys use for which. But now it's like I don't even know what key is what, except that it kind of kept the the cut and paste keys like Command C and Command V for copy and paste. So
my while I was on the Cadillac site, I noticed $102,000 for an Escalade. We have arrived in this world when you're buying automobiles that cost what houses cost in some part of the country.
I saw an article on the other day that said that there are only like 3 cars that cost $20,000, or in that $20,000 range now. I mean, that's everything has just gotten so expensive. So if you want a $20,000 car, you're basically buying a teeny tiny car here.
You can't even find a Chevrolet for $20,000. Chevrolet got rid of the Malibu was actually a really good car.
Hmm.
Uh, I want to say I think now it's probably it probably would have been last time it was on the market probably in the 30s, well equipped. But you could probably get a base Malibu for in the 20s. Good reliable car, but they don't make that anymore. Chevrolet has brought back the tracks. And the reason they brought it back is the the outcry for affordable SUVs. Although they're getting a lot of good reviews, and also GM's getting rid of the Chevrolet Bolt and the Bolt EUV and EV.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
Volt, but not the Volt, right?
yeah, yeah, and that's a battery issue. I mean,
Yeah,
they're changing their platform for their batteries for their EV, so that's an older technology. So
yeah, and
they're
not to
doing
be critical of General Motors, but when you used LG batteries, the same batteries that were causing LG phones to blow up, what did you think was going to happen? Just because the battery's bigger, you think it's going to be it's an LG. It's kind of like someone buying a Pinto and being shocked that it's. But I think the Bolt is around $20,000. The Trax is $20,000, which is a smaller SUV. The Trailblazer is 22,000.
Well,
And
LG, I mean, they get a lot of flack because they're like the lesser brother to Samsung.
yeah,
But if you ever like looked at the LCDs in a lot of computer displays, even some of the Macs, LG made a lot of those displays.
hmm
So they're not a terrible manufacturer. I mean, LG makes
but
good
yeah,
appliances. The battery issue, I don't know if that really was a manufacturing issue or what, but lithium ion is like it's a volatile chemistry anyway. So
hmm
there's a lot of things that can go wrong, really, in any design of that. So
yeah.
um, I don't think it's limited to just LG, but obviously, the Samsung phones had some issues with, remember the fiasco with the folding phones that ended up breaking, and
Yeah.
obviously the LG phones were the ones that had the issues with the batteries combusting. But I don't know if those are just like design issues with the phone or the battery. But again, in the race for everything to be like smaller and more innovative,
Mhm.
it's you have your tolerances are so much tighter for that if you make an error, it's just like the whole thing can literally go up in smoke.
Go get an iPhone. They don't blow up on you.
Well, according to
Except,
Apple, if you
except,
try to repair it, they will.
well, I tell you, what's funny is Apple's. I remember this was a few years ago. I was in Florida, and I'm just driving. And then the big alert sounds, loud sound that comes out. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And it was like a tornado watch while I was driving in
Oh, on the
Florida.
iPhone.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like obnoxious. Uh,
I don't think that's an
but
Apple thing, though. I think that's like they partnered with the EMS.
yeah.
Um,
Weren't we supposed to have EMS
or
technology that would turn your television on even if they're off during the EMS? Was that part of the? I remember that they talked about that. It's like how would because this is back when people didn't watch television 24/7. Um,
I
I
don't think it
mean,
was that. I think it was just basically the FCC mandated that certain times, certain every station, whether it be a radio station or a TV station,
yeah,
had to do the emergency broadcast
mhm.
test, um, and that was just part of their normal, kind of like how you. I don't know if actually I haven't heard it in a while. But remember they used to do the air raid
Oh
sirens like
yeah, I
every
remember that was
Saturday,
awesome.
the first Saturday of the
Actually,
month, every like one
It was
p.m.
actually Wednesdays at 11 is when they did those. Uh, I remember I was in the library. I was probably in elementary school. I was in the library, and that thing was. I thought it sounded like a fire alarm. When you pull the fire alarm in school, I'm like, is that like if it's a fire alarm, why isn't anybody going to the exits or anything like that? And because we had one of those air raid sirens right outside the library,
Yeah,
and
but talking about that, I've not really heard an air raid siren go off in
well, they
I don't know
dismantled a lot of
several years.
those. They dismantled a lot of those air raid sirens. But this
Really?
is that the Pixel Fold phone. Which why anybody would want a folding phone in this day and age is baffling, frankly. I would.
Well, some people like the flip phones.
I,
flip phones have become a big thing with younger people now for some reason.
maybe it's because they're
Do
not
you remember?
communicating.
Obviously, you guys remember watching The Matrix. Remember the Nokia phone that
Mhm.
flipped up like this? That was like the thing back then. That was like that was such a cool thing. It was like because that was like Nokia's unveiling of that phone. was the fact that you would open it and it would like flip up. You know, I was like, that's just so cool.
Like a Star
Look
Trek
at nowadays.
communicator. Yeah, it's like one of those communicators from Star Trek. Beam me up, Scotty. Yeah. And I'm trying to think the name. There was some movie where somebody goes, "Look, his phone is so old. It's a rotary dial," and he like it was a rotary dial. I want to say it was it may have been one of those Maxwell Smart reunion movies or something like that. Get Smart. They had a couple of those.
Mm.
It was funny how he said, "Shouldn't we use the cone of silence?" You know, and Jonathan Frakes says he was actually an agent of chaos in the movie, and he goes, "Oh, technology has evolved, and what they do is now they have 3 helicopters that hover around. They go on the roof and they bring the helicopters up so no one can hear, including themselves, can hear what they're talking about." Kind of a modern parody on the, but it's it's funny, we were talking about flip phones. My very first phone was the Nextel phone that had the walkie-talkie feature.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That was kind of cool. You know,
That was very big for construction. I remember when the AIM office over on Connecticut Avenue was being built out. You know, if you'd go there when the guys were on site as they were putting things up, you know, that's what they were doing. It was the push to talk, you know, with other people. Very, you know, it was great communication at the time for them.
Verizon even brought that into their phones, if I remember correctly, but they did not really. It didn't take off. You know.
Well, things evolve over time, right? I mean, we just continue to see different preferences and different changes, and you know, I mean, people used to talk a lot on their cell phones. It's mostly texting now on the cell phone and stuff.
I'm almost at a point where I'd rather.
None of my nephews and nieces text. It's all Snapchat and.
Even the younger, right? They'll do that, right?
I'd rather almost text than talk to people. Frankly, sometimes just send me a text. I don't want to talk about this. I mean,
out of my 3 kids, I have one, Spencer, because we still work on projects together. He calls me several times a week as we check in on things. But my other 2, the only way I hear from them is by text when they decide to text.
See, I've told my nephews, if your text is going to be longer than 3 lines, call me because I don't want to read a wall of text. It's like and I go, and I'll ignore text and I go, look, if it's really important, you call me. I'm not going to take your text.
But see, Dwight, you're kind of guilty of like you text like each sentence is a separate text. I'm like, I'd rather have like that all be like a paragraph in one text than having to read 3 separate texts.
Mm-hmm. True.
But that's just me,
Yeah. I mean, I used to hate texting. It's only the smartphone technology is. Because I didn't like texting on a flip phone at all. I hated that. Because you got to flip through A, B, C, there.
Yeah,
Heaven forbid if you miss.
Much more difficult then. I never at first, I didn't see the value in texting. And now that's, 90% of my communication with people is via text.
Yeah, same here.
Well, my first smartphone was I think it was a Samsung, but it actually had a full keyboard. It was it wasn't a flip phone, but it had something like a cover of some kind. But it had the ability to work with peripherals, and it had a little tiny keyboard. You could actually text and stuff, and it had basic internet access. This was right before the iPhone came out. And I remember having a little pouch on it because it was a big phone. It was about this big. Yeah. But I liked it because you could actually text using your thumbs on a full size, but full keyboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to say Nokia made that phone because they were I remember seeing commercials. It would basically it would slide up and the keyboard would come out.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it might have been a Nokia. I can't remember if it was Nokia or Samsung, but it was one of those. Probably, I think it was probably Nokia, but.
Does Nokia make phones anymore? Are they still in business?
Well, Nokia's still a company, but they've kind of gotten out of the cell phone company because again, it's pretty much as Apple or Google is
someone else. So
By the way, do you guys remember the old Montgomery Wards?
Monkey Wards, yeah.
Yeah, Monkey Wards. Okay. Remember their house brand was called Gold Star?
No, I didn't. I didn't really realize it was Gold
I
Star was
remember
their
the
brand.
brand. I don't remember. Was it
That was
theirs?
their
Okay.
that was their house brand. It was called Lucky Gold Star, right? And you know what that company is? That is LG. That was LG's first foray into America. They were like they did they sold those super cheap TVs at Montgomery Wards.
Well, I remember the Gold Star TVs, but I didn't think that was Lucky Gold Star. But I could be, it was such a long time ago, I don't really recall. But
Well, they used Gold
that's
Star, but
interesting.
that's the same company. You know, that's what LG is. I know they try to push it as life is good. Josephine is the one that was telling me it's Lucky Gold Star, and they used to
Interesting.
have. And Crown was the other cheap television manufacturer. I want to say that was at Sears.
Yeah, I remember
Sears,
Crown.
but now even the off-brand television, they're all still using Samsung screens. Like you buy like what's the Best Buy house brand? Nvidia, not Nvidia.
Insignia.
Signia, yeah. Those are basically the same as the Samsung. I mean, I've seen them side by side. The color's about the same.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, Samsung, does make a lot of displays, but so does LG. And it's
Yeah,
those technologies definitely have gotten, such that a lot of other off brands can make them too.
yeah,
I don't know, and the quality does, vary widely. So it may that be that Samsung's like, non, their B stock of
yeah.
displays may go to other,
The stuff they make
outsourced to
on
other
Mondays and
companies.
Fridays. Oh, that was with GM cars. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go. You pray that your car was built on a Wednesday and not on a Friday or a Monday. But I mean, in all fairness, the U.S. auto industry has gotten a lot better. American cars are just as reliable as anything made by the Germans, the Italians, the French. Well, they were always better than the French-made cars. The Peugeot. I want to say Colombo. Didn't he have a Peugeot? Colombo. He drove a
I
Peugeot,
don't
right?
recall.
He had one of those little. Yeah, I think he had a Peugeot.
But what was the
And
General Lee? Was that was a Chevrolet?
no, that was a Dodge Charger.
Oh, Dodge.
Yeah, if you remember our
Yeah,
friend
that car was
Brian, he
indestructible.
had. Yeah, if you remember our friend Brian had a white Dodge Charger. That was the General Lee
Hmm.
back in high school, and it
Didn't have
was
the doors welded shut. You could go with the
no, he did
windows.
not. No, he did not have the doors welded shut. No. But you can't even show that show in reruns anymore. Because it's probably been canceled.
What? Because of Daisy Duke?
It's yeah. She had the Challenger. Actually, that was her car. Was the Challenger before she got the Jeep? Because the first couple seasons she had a yellow Challenger. In one episode, they drove it off a cliff, like Thelma and Louise, but they jumped out before it went over the cliff.
Mhm.
And Boss Hogg thought the Duke boys had died. Ah, 1980s television. Very,
Yeah.
very, very, very low story points, and today's Cinco de Mayo, everyone. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Have your, go have some nachos and chips and
Yep.
margaritas.
I already had my margaritas today.
There you go. And this weekend is Kentucky Derby, so mint juleps on, what is it, Saturday or Sunday, the Kentucky Derby?
It's Saturday. It'll be Saturday afternoon. Run
There
for
you
the
go.
roses.
So you have mint juleps for tomorrow.
First
And
first leg of the Triple Crown. So
yeah. I tell you, in Maryland, I really wish they moved the Preakness to Laurel Racetrack. It's so much better. You don't have to dodge a hail of bullets to get there. That's why I really think the Orioles, if they really wanted to make some magic, move out by BWI Airport. Get out of the city, where fans, like myself, will go back and buy season tickets. So, if we feel safe going to Camden Yards again.
yeah, you have to have a good amount of land, and then you've got to figure out how to handle the parking issues and things like
And
that.
they've got the Camden line goes right through there. BWI Airport. Um, right? I mean, they've actually got the space. You could actually make it work. You've got a lot of space, and Arundel Mills will close down one day because it's probably one of the many dying malls because malls are dying everywhere.
You think
Uh,
Arundel Mills will die?
I
I
mean,
don't think. I don't think it'll die.
what's funny is I remember a few years ago when I came and met up with you when you were living in Raleigh.
Hmm.
There was supposed to be some outlet mall down there. The guy was telling me the manager at the hotel was telling me they had a whole outlet mall that shut down. The Carytown Center Mall. I remember when it was a happening place, and a few years ago when we went down for the North Carolina GOP convention, I forgot my jacket, so I went there to buy a jacket. That mall was dead. And that was like a really happening place. They had all these big anchor stores. I want to say they had a Dillard's, a Macy's, and a Sears there.
Hmm.
And I think Dillard's might be the only one still in business there now.
Well, malls aren't as popular, but I mean, there's still a lot of malls that are pretty popular. Like even like Columbia, not too far from me.
I know
That's
you
a
can't find
half
parking
outdoor
there.
mall, but that's packed all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the death of malls was greatly exaggerated. I mean, COVID obviously had a big impact on it, but a lot of those malls have actually done a-okay.
I mean, look at the malls that are shutting down. You got basically what happens is like Lake Forest. That was a premier mall back when we were in high school because that was the faraway mall for a lot of people.
That mall was dying before COVID.
Yeah, I know it was. Yeah, I mean, when they shut down the All American Cafe, I was done with that place. That was the best restaurant there. I'm done with Lake
It
Forest.
was All American Cafe for you. It was two things pretty much stopped me from going. First, it was when Red Robin closed because Spencer and I would go there for burgers, and then when
Were they the ones that had the unlimited French fries, or was that Fuddruckers?
bottomless fries. Yeah, and then when Panda Express closed up, I'm like, okay, what else am I gonna go for? That's about it.
I know. And the comic book store closed. That was in there. I remember.
Susan said, "Is the bus stop killed Lake Forest?"
Well, I mean, there's
Yeah.
in a sense. I mean, there's probably some truth to that. I mean, there's a transit center there, right? I mean, there's a big bus stop, which all the ride-ons and things like that go through, and they have had some crime as a result of that. Right.
Well,
around
that was Lake Forest was the
that's
mall.
on the edge of the parking lot.
Yeah.
But I think it's that changing demographics of the area.
Mm-hmm.
And that store mix, and it was just dying a death by 1,000 cuts. One thing after another, and a once thriving, lively mall just became a ghost town.
Mm-hmm. There's a guy named Sal. He does Dead Mall series. He's done 2 on Lake Forest. He went right before it closed. He went in the middle, and he basically was saying only place there was a Sbarro's in the food court. Yeah, that is true. That is true, Susan. And I remember Monkey Village was an up and coming area. I mean, back in the '80s, you remember our friend Rob Pless lived out there in Montgomery Village, and that was when you could buy a brand new house in Montgomery Village for between 180 and 199 to the upper 200s, depending on. And honestly, they even had townhomes that were cheaper than a Cadillac Escalade.
They're still building in Montgomery Village because they sold off the golf course and they developed that.
But see, I wouldn't want to live there though. I think it's crime ridden. It's not. And I think the biggest problem. I mean, I go to the Patel Brothers there sometimes, and I don't even feel safe walking into that shopping center where the Patel Brothers is. It's kind of like Langley Park North almost feels like. It's not that bad, but it kind of has that.
Yeah, I mean, Langley Park area I mean,
it's always been like, it was like
I
that.
was out there a lot when I was a small child, but like everything else, by the time I started going back there again, because I used to park nearby, when I was going to Maryland, I'm like, boy, this area is changing. It's kind of like you would not want to be here at night.
You know what it was? I think, what is it? I've got a friend who goes, when they shut the Corvettes down in Langley Park, that's when Langley Park went south.
The good old EJ Corvettes.
Was that like a department store or was that was it? Okay.
You could get all kinds of stuff there. Yeah.
And I tell you, when Silver Spring went south, when they shut the McQuarries down, frankly, where you can
Yeah,
go
I
there.
mean, there's just you just think about the old stores that have disappeared over time, and
Kresge's,
yeah,
and
my mom swore by the ham at Kresge's. So when since she didn't drive, when we would get in a taxi cab and go up to Wheaton Plaza,
mhm.
usually that included a side trip to Kresge's and getting some ham.
They had the best soft pretzels at Kresge's.
I'll be right back.
Okay. I mean, they had the best soft pretzels there at the Kresge's. You can get an icy there.
Yeah, so about it was a week ago. I was in your neck of the woods. I had a church thing I needed to do, so it was up. It was in New Carrollton areas, but we had to drive by Goddard and everything like that. But on the way back, Young's like we stopped at a couple places, and one of the things that we went to was the Amish market over there in Laurel area.
Over Burtonsville?
Well, they moved from Burtonsville over to Laurel.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, because that whole shopping center in Burtonsville got redeveloped.
Oh, that's right. No, it's empty from what I understand.
Yeah, so they moved. The Dutch Farmers Market is now basically in Laurel area.
So do they still have their cheesecakes there?
We went over there specifically to get soft pretzels. So it's like $2.75, but they're good.
Not a bad price.
No, it's not a bad price. Not a bad price at all. There used to be a place. I think it must have been the ice cream place, Core Brothers or whatever it was in White Flint, and they had soft serve ice cream and the pretzels. My mom loved it.
I haven't been to Laurel in probably ages. Last time was when Goddard was still on campus, and we went over to, there used to be a mall in Laurel. They tore it down, and now they've got like a Moe's there. And they got a Moe's. They've got a what's that pizza place? They got the keto friendly pizza there. Not Flaming Moe's. I tell you, I am forgetting the name of that pizza place.
Dwight, I'm worried about you because if you can't remember the name of a pizza joint,
I know it was like a good pizza place too. And
that whole area where Laurel Town Center was and stuff like that used to always have.
That's where the Evans used to be, right?
Because they used to have a Pace membership warehouse that turned into a Sam's, and before we moved to Gaithersburg, that was the way we were going.
There was a Pace. They had a Pace.
It was called Pace Membership Warehouse before Sam's Club bought them out.
Really? Yeah. Was that like Price Club? How Costco's bought out?
Yeah, I mean, it was the same concept.
But I think Costco's got a lot. Price Club was kind of trashy, but when Costco's came in, they really did improve that place. I did not like Price Club. Costco's
never went to a Price Club before. I've only been at the Costco, and I kept thinking, it's like, how long has the Costco been up there in Gaithersburg? Because we really never went to that one except on a special occasion, and then now it's a regular thing because we're 15 minutes away.
Yeah, but it's the demographic. I mean, here's the thing: Beltsville used to be, as they'd say, the nicest part of Prince George's County. That green belt. I mean, that's all. Everything, it's like, I'm sorry, I hate driving out there these days. There's so much because they closed the exit to get onto Goddard from the the BW Parkway. Because during the pandemic, some dump truck hit the bridge.
Oh, is that what it was? Because I was on the Parkway, and I'm like, why is this exit closed?
Yeah, some truck hit. Okay. And I hear now they've got funding. The Park Services has funding to rehab the. And I'm thinking, I think they should still keep it open as an entrance. You don't have to go over the bridge if you're entering or if you're going north on the Parkway. That's what they should keep it open for, that, because it saves so much time getting one to Goddard. I mean, you got to go up past Roosevelt High School, and you get 1, 2, 3 lights to get. And now Goddard is moving their main entrance from right there, 8800 to ISAT Road, which is another further up. You got to go, and it's like I tell you, driving there in the morning for morning meetings is great, but when I have to go there in the middle of the day for a meeting, the traffic is horrendous on the PG County side of the Beltway. Like where 95 and the Beltway meet, that is where there's it doesn't matter what time of day you're there. There's always some craziness going on, crazy shenanigans going on.
I've been there. I understand. I feel that pain.
Yeah, it's like ridiculous. It's like I tell you, why don't we keep government employees working from home forever so they're not clogging up the roads?
Yeah, like they're that much more efficient when they're in the office.
I know. Actually, I would say they might actually be more efficient when they're not there because they have to make it look like they're doing work and actually have to show some results, so to speak. I think. I know the government is, like I know there was some memo sent out there. There's going to be a meeting about Goddard civil servants coming back to work. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the contractors' offices have just been shuttered by. They're just like, oh, we got rid of your space. We put something else there instead.
I mean, it's open over there, right? Because I saw the badge entrance.
I'm there I'm there at least 2 times a week. And the badge entrance, by the way, is moved now as of last week or a week before last. They moved it to ISAT Road. It's open during rush hour, I think, in the mornings and evenings, because that ISAT Road entrance used to be only open during rush hours. You couldn't get in or out if you were leaving. Like if you come in the middle of the day, you couldn't use that. Now, if you come in the middle of the day, you can't go in at the main entrance. So, Jeff, if I ever give you another nickel tour there, you got to go to ISAT Road by the visitor center. And so you got a surprise guest. Hey, Jason, how are you doing?
Good evening, Dwight.
Hey, we're just talking about traffic around the DMV.
I was listening, and then I jumped in.
And you don't have traffic where you live out in lovely southern Anne Arundel County.
No, not until you head up towards Annapolis.
Yeah.
And usually that's only if something's going on, right? An accident or like today, apparently the murder-suicide that went on or something.
Really? There was a murder-suicide in Annapolis?
That's what just popped up on my phone a few minutes ago at the Ocean Barbecue.
Oh, no.
Oh. Wow.
So I got a question.
Yeah, he's
how
not.
How many Dr. Politics do we need? Or how many doctors do we need to have to like the Dr. Politics bunch? We have like a whole a grid of was it? Brady Bunch was like was 3 and then 2 and then 3. So we need like 3 more to do.
Yeah, the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
You get like 9 people on.
Yeah.
We've actually had.
We had 5 last week, right?
Yeah, 5 last week. And there's a lot of... Oh, I forgot. I should be promoting this because it's our good friend over there in... it's breaking news. Our friends in Garrett County have a Lincoln Reagan dinner coming up with Dr. Vivek Ramaswamy. Also, the guy that schooled Chuck Todd last week or week before on This Week. Not This Week. What's that? Oh, Meet the Press without Tim Russert, By the way, Tim Russert, he was also a liberal, but he was fair. I liked him.
Yeah.
His son, Luke Russert, a lefty commie.
Yeah. I mean, Ramaswamy, he should be good. He should be good.
And and I know we've got May Day was this past week. International Workers' Day. The French were protesting the dastardly act of the Prime Minister raising the retirement age from 60 to 62.
No, 60. Yeah. The retirement age, Macron, the president, raised it from 62 to 64.
Oh, the fiend!
Yeah.
64 years old. And they get the entire month of August off.
I mean, I mean, how many hours a week does the average
They don't even work a 40-hour work week. I think it's like
they've got tons of vacation or what they call holiday, right?
Yes.
So, Yeah, and the protest originally was kind of by the union workers, by a lot of the old, the working force, the older people,
Yeah.
and that's switched now to where all these protests are now mostly by all these young people who are
Millennials and
there,
Zoomers.
and it's like people who have got like zero understanding of what Macron is trying to do, and this is something Macron had pledged to do to work on,
Hmm.
during his last campaign.
Yeah.
And it's like
I
it's
mean,
as if it's like there's no one paid attention to that at all, and
yeah,
then all of a sudden now he gets it done, and they're all having this conniption fit. It's
yeah.
like, but it's like what do these people expect? I mean, this is a worldwide problem of there are not enough workers going to be supporting their pension systems. So
And I
hello,
tell you,
something's got to give.
and here's the thing. And bringing it back to American politics, I don't know if you guys have seen this. Donald Trump's running these attack ads against Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis voted to raise the retirement age. Hey, that means I should vote for this guy. Ron DeSantis wanted to make cuts to Medicare and Medicaid. Hey, I like that. He wanted to cut Social Security benefit. I like that. That commercial probably sends more people to support Ron than not support Ron. Because Donald Trump sounds like an FDR Democrat. Oh, I'm going to save Social Security and Medicare.
And it's the same message that the Democrats, are
Yeah.
sending on DeSantis too, right?
Yep.
All these lies and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, Trump is quite the character, but I mean,
Yeah, and this is
anything he can do to destroy his opponents, Republican or whatever, he doesn't seem to care.
yeah. And
Does
he's
he have
got
a
this
nickname for DeSantis?
the sanctimonious.
Oh, yes, right. That's yes. Ron DeSanctimonious, yeah.
But
'Cause he's got a nickname everyone that he doesn't like.
That's right.
yeah. I mean, we give him a nickname. I'm sure the Democrats gave him one. For whatever.
See, with Donald, when you've got Trump, the Democrats don't need to do anything. They can just let Trump do all the things.
Yeah, I mean, Trump basically is his worst enemy. If he had stayed off Twitter and kept his mouth shut 50% of the time while he was president, he'd be president today. He'd still be enjoying term 2. And we'd be in the glorious final days of the Trump administration. All hail Vice President Pence becoming the next president of the United States,
I don't know. I think that Trump, this is my opinion, obviously, but I think Trump really kind of blew it when he really downplayed coronavirus. Because regardless of how he sees things now, back then people were definitely very concerned about it, and the fact that he was doing all these negative attack campaigns against coronavirus and saying it's not a big deal, and he wasn't really going to help the small businesses where at least Biden said he was going to. I mean, it turned out he really didn't. But that was his campaign pledge, was he was going to help provide support for small businesses and such. And I think back then there were enough people that were just kind of on the fence that said, okay, well, here we have an actual epidemic where we need to get all hands on board. And Trump is basically saying he's kind of punting it and saying, well, it's not a big deal. Which there are people who still deny coronavirus is a thing. Which, I mean, again, I don't know where it's coming from. Personally, I think that we probably overreacted a little bit. But being, having it been unknown at the time, I don't blame us for playing it safe. The only thing that I wish we had done is that we were better equipped for the businesses that were at risk, where we didn't shut down so many things and gave people more ability to survive. Obviously, we had the Paycheck Protection Program, but that was abused as much as used by companies. So, I mean, really, it was kind of just a, there were so many things that went wrong, but still, I think that was his biggest, faux pas in
I'd say
the
the biggest
campaign.
I would say the biggest mistake he made during Trump was those stimulus checks. I mean, Jason, am I wrong? Those stimulus checks really didn't get down to normal people like you and I. I never got a stimulus check.
I did not get a stimulus check.
I got them. I got the stimulus checks.
Lucky you.
Well,
I did not.
Well, it's because I claimed
What's that?
Yeah,
why didn't you get one?
Do you claim your kids as dependents?
I'm too affluent.
I was
All right,
in college, so I didn't get one.
Yeah, I mean,
Were you in college?
I got both of those.
Weren't you working for us? You weren't in college then during the stimulus
but
checks.
I was still at Maryland when COVID started.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. You graduated during the lockdowns.
I did.
You know, but I mean that was the beginning of the end. Democrats love giving away money unless it's a Republican. Remember they hated it when President Bush gave us all, and I got
It
one of
wasn't.
those checks.
Well, here's the thing. It wasn't a gift. It was just an advance on our refund. So the people who say that it was a gift, it wasn't like the government was,
Well,
paying
it
us
was a
at the
gift for
kindness of its
people who
heart.
don't pay any. But you know, 'cause, see, Jeff, people who pay
No,
no
it was
taxes.
taken out of your. It was still taken out of your taxes, so you didn't get that credit. If you filed your taxes, so it was just a
Yes,
prepayment on your, like a refund or
true. But
whatever.
Jeff,
So
my issue is like, let's say there's people out there that pay zero taxes and they still get a
yeah,
refund. They get everything they put in the taxes all year long. They get it all back, then some, and that's my issue. I'm sorry.
no, yeah, I
I
know.
I end up
That's. I
paying at
mean,
the end of the year. It's like very painful.
yeah,
Not
I mean,
painful. I
I
just
know.
don't like it. I don't like it. Let's just be blunt.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't like it.
I've seen tax returns where I've helped someone file a tax return when they had like a negative 24% tax rate, because they got more money back from the government than they put in, and you can argue whether that's good or bad, but there is a segment of the population which is in poverty, and how you provide for them, whether it be through government support programs or whatever. I mean, we're just set up as a country that part of the what we pay in the taxes goes to pay the people that either for one reason or another are underemployed or unemployed. So, and typically, if the more you put in like a little bit, there's kind of like a fine line as far as like if you don't pay any taxes, you typically don't get like much back. But if you for a point, if you put in a certain amount of money, you get that back plus more.
Right.
So it does encourage working a little bit,
Well,
but it's really I mean, the whole system I think needs to be revamped. But that
yeah.
being
Well,
said,
let me give you the Ray Barone logic here, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Okay, there was an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond where Ray invested $1,000 in a go-kart track business, and then he tells Deborah about it after he gave the money. They do a presentation, get more money, and she gets mad at him, and he makes a point. I thought it was a valid point where Deborah made Ray give a homeless guy $5. And then Ray goes, and I understood that he needed the money more than I did. And then I go, and he goes, giving $5 to a homeless guy is like giving him $1,000. May as well be $1,000 to him. And he goes, and that was the logic. It's not a bad logic thing, for a home, but that's I don't like it when the government gives away free money to people. Frankly, I really would like if we didn't have to pay any taxes, and that would be a great. It would help everybody. That would talk about helping the economy out. By the way, that's the thing. If he had suspended
so if we paid no taxes, then every industry that we enjoy would be a privatized industry. So we're talking about privatized police, privatized fire, privatized ambulance, everything would be privatized, which isn't like the worst concept. But the problem is that I don't remember if you remember like the Pinkertons. Back this
yeah,
is like before our time,
yeah,
but
yeah.
the Pinkertons was an
Jesse
agency
James was
that
taken out by the Pinkertons.
was like a quasi, police organization. They weren't the police, but they kind of had the, the wink and the nod approval of the police to do
Yeah,
police kind of thing. So they were like the roughhouse police, and that was kind of a privatized, they were a private investigation firm, but they basically were like the pseudo quasi police.
and
And if you like RoboCop, I mean, you can talk about Omni Consumer Products in Detroit being like totally
OCP, yeah.
consumer based. I mean, that's kind of the future I think we're going towards if you talk about privatizing everything.
Well,
So I don't know if that's a good thing.
you know, it's kind of like me wishing for no tax, like people in hell wishing for ice. They want ice water, and they're not going to get that either. And I'm not going to get this either. But it's good that you brought up the crime thing. Just was it yesterday or the day before? This past week, New York City, we had a retired Marine who saved a whole bunch of people from a homeless person who was harassing everyone. And now you have everybody from Al Sharpton to the governor of New York coming down on this, human being who was trying to help. And it's like they're worried about a guy that died who was harassing people and was threatening people on a train. But there was like 57 people that have died on the subways because of hoodlums and vandals in the New York City subway system, where the Governor Hochul has been dead silent on. AOC dead silent on. All those protesters without Sharpton dead silent. When do they get? Don't their lives matter? I mean, it is really ridiculous what they're doing, and they're trying to turn this into another George Floyd situation. Frankly, thoughts, anyone?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I want to see what kind of investigation they really do on this. I mean, I guess legal experts have come out and said, that guy's going to have a tough road in the courts once he gets charged, because, I mean, this homeless guy wasn't carrying a weapon or anything, right? He was just being verbally abusive and some other things like that. Mm-hmm. And this guy used a chokehold, and things are very sensitive about excessive force or excessive use of things like that. Somebody dies, obviously it becomes a very serious situation. Yeah. Is that kind of deadly force, was that necessary? I mean, the problem, I think, goes back to what you're saying, though. I mean, the thing is that these things like the subways, they have become increasingly more dangerous.
I used to ride the New York City subways. They were safe under Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Jason, you've ridden this metro system in D.C. probably in the past, right? Do you feel safe using it today with all the vagrants and crimes?
I think, what was the last time I rode it? It was maybe December? November, December, I rode the metro. Mm-hmm. I felt safe, but you know why? Because it was empty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I rode the metro from Greenbelt. Yeah, I rode the Green Line from Greenbelt down to D.C., like Lafayette Plaza, and it was pretty much deserted on the train, and everyone was on their phones anyway, so I didn't feel like,
No, I mean, it's like, it's fine then, but I've ridden the metro back in, I would say, 2006, 2000. No, I used to take the metro to go downtown. We had an HHS contract, so I was going down to HHS, down in the hellhole that it's in downtown. And thank God I don't have to ever go there now. I've got people that go there instead of me. But let me tell you, if the red line is operating just fine on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, as the sun will rise and sun will set, the red line will have a delay Friday, either in the morning or in the evenings, and it won't be pretty. And when you get on those trains, it is like it's like, I remember watching I'm trying to think what was the cartoon. There was a cartoon that always would show the Japanese actually it was maybe the Flintstones where. No, it was something. Anyways, but the cartoon where they're shoving people in like sardine cans in a train. That's what it's like. You gotta jump.
Are you talking about like Fantasia 2000, where it does like Rhapsody in Blue, where they had like everyone going in the subway?
It may have been that. That was actually an older cartoon. It was that. You know which one it was? You know that there used to be a cartoon about a mouse named Hashimoto.
No, I remember Adam Ant. I don't remember a mouse named Hashimoto.
This was it was like it was in color, but it was like that faded color, like the early Bugs Bunnies, where Bugs Bunny looked like he was high all the time. Opposed to the modern,
well, it is Looney Tunes, so
yeah, I know, but no, there was. If you remember, there's two. If you watch the older Bugs Bunnies, he does not look the same as he does in the modern era. But
neither does Mickey Mouse. To be fair,
yeah, but Hashimoto, he had. He had an American mouse friend that would visit him every now and then he'd be giving wise wisdom to his kids and stuff like that. But that was the one where they were shoving people into the Tokyo subway.
All right. I don't remember that one.
Yeah,
I do remember, what is it? The two mice, the Speedy Gonzalez and Slowpoke Rodriguez.
It is Cinco de Mayo. I was actually talking about that today, where Sylvester had a friend who was like the fat cat that was a friend of his, and Sylvester said he's going to go after.
John's got the link. Hashimoto-san.
That's it. Yes, this is it.
All right.
Memories.
Yeah, that's before my recollection.
No, they used to you could actually see this used to be like one of the cartoons they'd have sandwiched between the Bugs Bunny. I think it was either Bugs Bunny or Yogi Bear. I think but yeah,
Psycho.
yeah, and yet yes, American Friend Joey, yes, and yes, this is I gotta find this on YouTube. It's very I liked it a lot. It was a fun cartoon. See, Jason, you grew up in the era of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. These were good cartoons. You didn't have Transformers growing up, right? The cartoon, the G1. Yeah. But yeah, that's.
Well, see, the one before Transformers was Voltron. I'm talking about the Five Lions Voltron, not like the various buses and cars Voltron.
I liked that one better. The Vehicle Force Voltron was better than the Go Lion one.
You think so? I think
yes.
the Lions had a backstory and everything. You had to, uncover the Lions.
The other ones did too. They were fighting to liberate, and it was great. They ended it on a cliffhanger. There was like the villains. They had a great redemption arc for the big villain. He comes around and team.
Craig
Voltron.
found the link.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Craig. And they actually had a backstory. They were going somewhere in space, and you had the Drool Empire trying to stop them, and they were just going, and they had Voltron. It's funny. The early seasons, Voltron could only stay Voltron for like 5 minutes or something like that, because they had to recharge or something like that, and then. But then in the later season, you see him as Voltron for like the whole cartoon, series, But that was a great cartoon. But and this week we had a lot of things. We're almost at final thoughts.
Yes,
Did we talk about any politics at all?
Yeah, we did. We
got a little bit of politics in there.
We did a little bit of politics,
Maybe 5 minutes.
Dr. Politics, we talk about everything. By the way, I want to say congratulations to Washington National fans.
Oh,
David Shepard. Man, better late than never. Hey, Dave.
Sorry for the tardiness.
He tuned in just as the show was ending. Bye and bye, Dave.
I just want to congratulate all the Nationals fans. The Nationals today have won as many games as the Orioles have lost, and they have won as many. They've won as many games as the Orioles have lost, and they have lost as many games as the Orioles have won. Congratulations, Nationals.
And yet the Nationals, we knew they were going to be very good this year. They're still not the worst team in the NL, but the Cardinals are terrible.
I didn't think they got their 3 wins. They got their last 3 wins. They were probably playing.
Yeah, the Cardinals are like 10-22, so it's like it's a horrible season for them.
Yes,
and they actually have good players.
They
do.
Are
full of a bunch of just whatever.
Yeah, they've won 3 games. I guess they were playing the Cardinals.
They just finished playing the Cubs.
The Cubs 16-16.
The Cubs are a so-so team.
I mean, the Orioles 21-10.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see how the Orioles do this weekend because I got to play the Braves and I got to play Tampa. 2 of the best teams.
If they could take 2 out of the 3 with the Braves and 1 out of 3 with the Tampas, I'll be a happy camper, frankly.
If I could take 2 out of 3 from the Braves, that'll be a miracle.
It could happen. It could happen. It's Orioles magic.
I mean, they're playing pretty well, so we'll see.
They're not
supposed against the Royals was not as good for them.
They're not supposed to be at 21-10. By the way, they're not supposed to be at 21-10. The Chiefs, the Royals, the worst team in baseball, 8 wins.
Wow.
8 wins.
Wow. How do they compare to the Oakland A's?
6 wins.
Yeah, because the A's are terrible this year.
But
it's like a AAA team.
Have you seen that
the A's are purposely tanking and they don't really care. But they're just like the Orioles were when the Orioles, all these teams that have virtually no payroll, they're still going to make plenty of money.
Yeah. If the Orioles moved out to Hanover, they'd be making a lot more money because more people feel safe going to those games. What do you think, Jason? That's in your county. Wouldn't
They
you
don't. They
like
don't.
to see
They
them?
don't really look.
I
They
don't know
don't.
where they put it, but it would be interesting.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like to
Look,
see them
these
be
teams
right
don't
by?
need fans as much as they just need the TV revenues.
But it's nice to have ticket sales up and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
You know.
it's fine to do that, but I mean, the Orioles have shown, just like other teams, is that you don't have to be a great team in the past. When they were let, they had all those losing years. Their attendance was horrible, but they were still very profitable.
Well, we are at Final Thoughts, the show that sprinkles everyday life and life lessons in with a little bit of politics. David, last one in, first one to do the final thoughts. Final thoughts.
Well, my apologies to you all for the screw up on this one.
Okay.
My final thoughts. I've discovered maybe I'm a little phobic about tunnels. I was driving to Newport News, and I had to drive under that tunnel, to get to Chesapeake, and then to get out.
Is that that's the
North
Bay
Carolina
Bridge
line.
Tunnel, right? Is that the
That
bridge
was the
tunnel?
Merrimack Tunnel or something, but it was. I never knew I had that phobia, but it developed later in life, I guess. But you got no shoulder on the road and in the tunnel, and you're all just keep going, maintain speed.
I hate.
Maintain 45,
so anyway,
as they say,
I guess
right?
I sort of discovered that. But otherwise, just looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah. Final thoughts, Jeff Thornton. Take it away.
Oh, so I was gonna say. Speaking of tunnels, I'm just trying to think some of the worst tunnels. I don't really have a tunnel phobia. I mean, I drive the Turnpike quite a bit, and so I go through the Pennsylvania Turnpike, which they have a fairly long tunnel there. It's about a mile or so, and I can only imagine help me out here, but they built an underground tunnel under the Bering Straits, I believe, to connect Europe and it Paris or? But I can only imagine.
English Channel, Bering Straits is between Alaska. You're thinking of the English Channel.
Yeah. I'm terrible at names, but yeah, the English Channel.
They don't have cars they only have trains going through there, I think.
Is it? I wasn't really sure what it was. I've seen documentaries of it being built and how difficult it was, but I haven't seen the completed tunnel, so I'm not sure what it was for. But I can only imagine going through that tunnel for however many miles that is, because it's not a short tunnel. But yeah, I was gonna say I don't really have a phobia, but I am more nervous about bridges because, in Michigan, there is the Mackinac Bridge, which looks like it's spelled out looks like Mackinac, but it's pronounced Mackinac. But that is a very long bridge, and it's a steel bridge where it's like a steel mesh where you can actually kind of see through the bridge.
It's like the Key Bridge.
Yeah, and on high winds and cold days where the bridge freezes, I'm like, that's. I haven't really driven over the bridge, but they actually close the bridge down at times because of the weather conditions. So I can only imagine.
They do that to the Bay Bridge too, actually.
So that's my thing. It's I don't have a fear of heights per se, but going over a bridge and feeling the wind effect, move your car, and knowing that it's not pavement you're on, it's basically just steel.
Yeah.
That's my kind of phobia. So
my fear is not heights. It's the fear of I don't go up on ladders. It's the fear of falling.
Oh yeah. So Susan says a channel and Don says it's 31 miles long. So. Yeah, I don't. I was. I can only imagine driving through that. That's pretty crazy.
Imagine, I tell you, the one driving through the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. It's over in Virginia. It's the longest. I think it should be classified as one of the wonders of the world. Frankly, it's amazing. You're growing on the bridge, but there's a place you can pull off and stop on that, and you look to the left, you look to the right, all you see is water.
Yeah.
And then you go in the tunnel, and then the next thing you know, you're out in Virginia. That connects what Hampton Roads and Virginia Beach. Is that what it is?
Yeah, because I was in Newport News, but I stayed the night. I went down a night earlier to stay with friends in Chesapeake. It shows my bad understanding of Virginia geography, maybe, because Chesapeake's actually further from Newport News than I thought. It's an hour away. But to get there, you go under this tunnel. Mm-hmm. And Chesapeake's all the way pretty much at the North Carolina border, so I had to go into the tunnel. It wasn't that big of a deal. I don't mean to exaggerate like phobia, but, you're just in line waiting to go down, then you kind of go down, and then You just have to maintain your speed. There's no real shoulder, as you know, and I don't think it's quite a mile, but you just drive on through and out. So
I think the harbor tunnel
I
is
didn't
longer
get
than
your
that.
There always seems to be traffic down there too.
Where, Chesapeake?
Well, yeah.
That's Mark Early country, by the way, former AG.
Yeah, it is.
Was he AG or lieutenant
his
governor?
son
He was lieutenant governor.
Yeah, his son's involved in politics.
Yeah, he's running for. I got a text from Jason Morales about him. I sent him some money.
Well, Mark's got like 8 kids, so
Yeah.
it's bound that one of them was going to run for office.
Yeah. I tell you, it's a shame that Mark has kind of stepped away from politics. He hasn't really done much since,
Yeah.
But back to Jeff.
I was going to say, yeah.
How was the play last week, by the way? You were at a play.
Yeah, it was kind of cute. It was it wasn't a formal play. So normally Reservoir High is known for it plays. It's really quite professional. But this play was done by the students. It was arranged by the students, choreographed. Everything was done by students. So different level of different caliber of performance. But it was still very fun. I think the title of the play was like Everything I Learned in Kindergarten or something like that. And it was like a series of shorts, so it wasn't like a single play, but it was like kind of skits where you had students doing like a scene or something like that. So some of the actors who don't get to act on the bigger sets got to act. There was some singing. It was quite entertaining, so I did like it. And my nephew was did a thing about a spider. That was kind of his skit, and I thought it was really funny. But anyway, so that was a great play.
Was it the Itsy Bitsy Spider bit?
He did actually sing the song, because that was kind of an improv thing where he actually had, a different like routine set up, but he actually ended up singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider and got the whole audience to sing along with him. So that's like that was pretty fun. I was gonna say too. I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if I can share my screen real quick. We actually have a fox den in our backyard. So I took this picture. Wow. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting because
you got a fox den in your backyard.
Yeah, in backyard underneath the shed, we actually have a little den where foxes.
You gotta get rid of those foxes.
Why?
I think at some point they'll be domesticated.
They could be rabid. They could be.
No, they're not rabid. Well,
rabies.
Okay, it's a mother fox with her little cubs and stuff, and I know everyone worries about rabies and stuff, but the cubs are like they're like cats. They're like playing around, jumping on each other, having fun. I don't know. It was kind of an odd thing just to see them out there, but anyway, they're adorable. They really are. Yeah. So I'm just like, I've seen foxes in the neighborhood before. I'm like, where do they go? Comes out to find out that they go to our backyard apparently.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not going to feed them or anything like that, but it's just cool.
It's coyotes. I had those coyotes are the ones.
Well, coyotes, that's a little different. And Michigan, speaking of Michigan too, coyotes had been breeding with wolves and creating this I don't know what you'd even call it, but it was like a hybrid kind of creature that was actually kind of the worst of both breeds, and it was kind of causing a lot of damage. So Michigan had like an open.
Is that a chupacabra?
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo. That'd be appropriate.
That's where chupacabras came from.
Yes, but yeah. Any case, definitely not a kind creature. But I don't think we have those coyote problems in Maryland. But
no,
generally speaking,
we do have coyotes
I'm saying,
in Maryland.
But you don't have coyotes mixing with other species, though. I mean, coyotes are not like the best creatures anyway, but having them, crossbreed is not necessarily good either. So, but that being said, I've only seen a Michigan wolverine in the Detroit Zoo. Supposedly that's the state animal, but it's like I've never seen a wolverine in the wild, and they kind of look like a badger if you look at them close. But anyway, it's I've only ever seen one in the Detroit Zoo. But anyway, kind of rambling.
You know what Maryland state animal is? Do you know what that is?
Let's see.
Turtle? Terrapin?
No.
No, I don't know.
You don't remember from fourth grade? It was the crane, the whooping crane.
The whooping crane? Okay.
Yeah. Jason knew that, right? Jason, did you know that?
What? What's that?
Our state animal is a whooping crane.
Did not know that.
And our state tree is a white oak, and our state drink is milk, and our state sport is jousting.
Who chooses these things?
Jousting.
And your bird's the
I
Oriole.
think the
Yes, it
steak
is.
sandwich is a soft shell sandwich.
The state
We need to like
is the
revise
violent
these
steak.
creatures and stuff. Yeah, the Maryland creature should be like the crab, the bay crab, and
You think that's our. I think that might be our sea animal or whatever, or sea whatever thing. Maryland's got a
The
lot
official
of
condiment should be Old Bay.
yes,
It is-
Old Bay,
that
yes,
That it is. That it is.
yes, the official condiment. Yeah, and I would say that Scrapple, but that's a Pennsylvania thing. But yeah. No, most people don't like Scrapple. Scrapple is hard to find outside this area, but even Scrapple is a local thing. Utz Crackers is a local thing. Yingling it's more popular now than it was before, but Yingling used to be a local thing.
There you go, Jeff. Is this what you were talking about?
Yeah,
What
sounds like
wolves?
that. Yeah, Kai Wolves. Sounds like a Star Wars name, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. So anyway, that's I don't really have any particular thoughts, but I'm definitely looking forward to the weekend. And this is the last week of school for me, so I'm kind of scrambling to get all my assignments done. The semester ends on Tuesday night, so I've been a little bit behind because I actually have some exams. They're all online, and I just feel a little stressed because I haven't mentioned to Dwight, this, but my father has been in the hospital, and my girlfriend's father is actually still in the hospital. So I've been doing a lot of traveling, trying to take care of both sides. So it's just been a little less time for me to spend on schoolwork than normal. So I don't think I'm going to get A's in my classes this time. I think I'm going to get B's, which is really, for me, it's like most people wouldn't care, but I'm very much like a perfectionist. So I've been straight A's up until now. So I'm kind of disappointed that I may not get A's.
So you're not going to be on the dean's list this semester, huh?
Well, yeah, the dean's list is maintaining a 3.5. And I'm not sure if it's per semester or just cumulative, but I definitely have enough A's prior to that to have my cumulative GPA be a 3.5. It's just this semester I don't think I'm going to maintain a 3.5. If I get an A in one class, it'll be a 3.5. But yeah, I don't know. That's not the worst thing. It's just I feel again I was really hoping for a straight A across the board, but life happens.
Yeah, and you already did that in high school, so hey.
No, high school I sucked. I actually graduated with a 2.1 GPA in high school.
Yeah, but it was a magnet 2.1, so it's really
That's true. I mean, I learned a lot. My grades sucked because I hated homework. I absolutely hated homework. But the classes were amazing classes, and we had amazing teachers. And I loved doing the assignments in classes. I learned so much, more so even than college. I mean, I literally learned more in high school than I did in college. But that being said, my SAT scores were great, but my GPA sucked. So.
On the homework, Jeff. I mean, you'd thrive today because they're eliminating homework.
I know. Right. I wish I was alive now. I don't know. I'm not saying well, but I wish I was a student now, knowing what I knew back then, because then I would, I'd be smooth sailing.
This is where I think where the fact that I remember 90% of what I see and stuff like that. I think that's what, because I did homework when it was important to do the homework, like term papers and stuff like that. I mean, busy work, homework, I thought it was just busy work, and I just do it a little bit before class, maybe the class before, I do the homework. And frankly, it's I didn't really like studying for tests because my view was this: if I don't know it by the day of the test, me cramming the night before is not going to help. And I did just.
So the Maryland State cat is the calico cat. What I found out was interesting is calico cats can only be female, and it's because the genes. It's like this. The skin is actually like a combination of both sets of genes from the parents. So it's something to do like the XY chromosome, because the women have two X chromosomes. They actually have two sets of competing genes, and so you'll have varying coats of color on a cat because of the competing genes. So you may have one color is tan or tabby, whatever, and then the other one will be brown or a darker color, and that's what makes a calico cat is the fact that it's got the two different coats, and it's only females apparently that have that.
Unless it's a
So, anyway,
trans,
random
unless
fact
it's
of
a
the day.
trans cat. Unless it's a trans cat.
Oh, he says most Mary cats. Well, yeah, I don't know if that's how long that will be true, but
I
Yeah.
identify as Mary. Okay, we're all identifying as Mary tonight then.
yes.
Well, you know, there was a Indiana councilman who identified as a Native American female, lesbian,
Mm,
and everybody got all mad at him for doing that.
yeah.
So
But
here's a
final
question:
thought,
Can I
yeah.
can I identify as a Democrat even though I'm a Republican? You know, is that allowed, or is that like? You know, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I guess you
Um,
could. I mean, I guess you could if you wanted to.
yeah,
Oh,
no,
jeez, yeah. But anyway, this is the thing I don't like. You know, when I went running yesterday, and it's like there's an area I run through in Rock Creek, and then I start smelling marijuana, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? You know, it's like
marijuana
it
land.
throws you
Yes.
off. It throws you off on the stride, so to speak.
It's interesting you mentioned that. That happened to me yesterday. I was on a walk
Hmm.
and I smelled it, and I saw the guy sitting there
Hmm.
smoking marijuana. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I don't know how I
Well,
feel about that. It's definitely one of those things that I think people should be allowed generally to do what they want in the privacy of their own homes and such. But again, it's a very pungent smell, so I'd rather like not have that. And I don't know how it is in Maryland. In Michigan, there was we used to have like smoking in restaurants as an optional thing. We had like a smoking section and a non-smoking section. Now across the state, there is no smoking in restaurants. It's
yeah,
just that's not even allowed at all.
it's
And
like in
I mean,
Maryland.
I understand it, but again, now we have like this marijuana smell, which like it sticks in your body.
Of
So
course.
you walk into a restaurant and you smell it more than cigarette smoke because it's just like you can't get it off you. It's like it's just pervasive.
Yeah. It
But
reminds me when
anyway,
I went to a dairy farm a year ago or so. But any other thoughts, Jeff?
nah, I'm done. Yeah.
Okay. Final thoughts, Don.
Final thoughts. Our great president is sending 1,500 troops to the border as Title 42 is set to expire. The mayor of El Paso is already, I think, organized and getting ready for what they are fearing will be a surge. There's reports in some places that say there could be as many as 35,000 people waiting to cross the border. There's no doubt that there are, people in lots of areas across the border waiting, and they've been waiting for quite a while here. But it's interesting because Karine Jean-Pierre had said at the press conference the other day that they had solved like 90% of the problem. Though what she was referring to was
It
this
was down 90%.
the parole
Illegals.
program. But the thing is that when you say the parole program, I mean this was something that when you were seeking asylum you could go to and they could grant you this time period, this kind of waiver. But if you're going to just be able to walk over eventually or just come through without all the restrictions, you don't need to even bother doing that. So that program really there's no efficiency. There's no effectiveness for that thing at all. So I don't know. Once again, Karine Jean-Pierre continues to show that she's got to be the worst press secretary in our history. Unbelievable that she continues to stay in that job. But I think Biden, Biden administration has boxed themselves into a corner with these people. They all this diversity effort on their part has put a lot of incompetent, kooky people in there. And how do you fire them without riling somebody on the left that says, "Oh, you can't fire her because she's a black lesbian, woman. You can't do that. You can't fire this other person because they're transgender or whatever." So they box themselves in by putting all these people who don't have
Don,
the
I don't
ability
know
to.
if you ever watched Family Guy.
I haven't. Yeah.
There's an episode where Peter is designated special needs, and all through the show, he goes, "Oh, you can't say anything. I'm special needs." Like he runs out into the middle of the street, causes an accident. "Oh, sorry, I'm special needs." He goes to a restaurant, like just starts doing all sorts, and he goes, "Oh, you can't." That's what this has become. Political correctness has become that. Oh, you can't say anything bad about it. I'm special needs.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes to the whole thing too about we were joking around about how we identify. I mean, that's the same thing too. I mean, somebody decides to identify as a man, when they're a woman or a woman, or vice versa and stuff like that. I mean, there was a story the other day. I think it was the Columbus YMCA, and so a lot of female patrons were complaining because there was a male in their locker room exposing himself. But they had told the women that were complaining, says, well, he identified as a woman, and so he has permission to use the woman's locker room. Hello. This is just a sad state of affairs that we are going down to. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a crazy, mixed up, shook up world for Lola, huh?
All right. So following the other thing too was just that. So I think it was the IRS released a report about kind of the migration patterns based on taxes and everything like this, and you're seeing basically that the blue states, particularly California and Illinois, they've lost a lot of people because of this. They continue to tax the rich, and so those people are just fleeing. And so states like Texas and Florida and things like that are gaining population as a result of this. It seems to be completely lost on the politicians in these blue states that the taxation, that they're doing is actually chasing people away and eroding their tax base. They seem to be completely.
To your point, I mean, look at New York City. I mean, I follow some YouTubers like Louis Rossman on YouTube, who's based out of New York, who basically was not really chased out of New York, but because New York was so anti-business that he couldn't maintain his business in New York. And there are so many boarded up buildings in New York, but they can't get people to occupy them because it's kind of a catch-22. Like, the valuation of the building is based upon like the expected rent of the building. And if you actually decrease the rent to what people can actually afford, then the whole value of the property goes down. And so people like who investing in that property lose money. So they'd rather have this, perceived value, like, that it's worth more because in theory we could get these people to rent it out as opposed to having, actual value. And I've said before, I think my main problem with democratic cities and so on, besides the whole, not in my backyard kind of mentality they have, is the fact that they tend to tax the properties more than the people. Like they don't tax people who will work. They tax the properties because property, is going to be there regardless of, economic situation. You could be employed, unemployed, whatever. But if you tax the property at a much higher rate, then you're guaranteed to get a certain amount of money regardless of how people are employed or not. So you can look at like Baltimore City, the tax there for the places is like twice what it is any place else in Maryland. Same thing for Illinois, the city. Same thing for New York City. These places are just so heavily taxed on the properties that unless you are just, you need to be there, people don't want to be there. And like New Jersey was the escape for New York for a while, but New Jersey went down the same path as New York as far as taxation. And now everyone's fleeing New Jersey. So it's just, I don't know what people are going to realize, that this system of taxation the Democrats always think works for them, just it eventually implodes. It works for a while the property holds value. Then people are like, I'm going to get out of here. I'm paying too much in taxes. They leave, and then there's no taxes left.
Yeah, I mean, Martin O'Malley's millionaires tax was did a great job for getting people to leave the state, right?
Yep.
Right?
Black and Decker left as a result of that, I believe.
Yeah, and corporations leave too. I mean, that hedge fund that was at Citadel. I mean, the guy's conservative, but he's pulled up his stakes in Illinois and is sending going to go and relocate to Florida, and others of all just other political stripes. I mean, these are business decisions. Businesses look at this too, and they're like, we can't afford to stay here. They just keep taxing us. And there's the climate is unfriendly, so you pick up and then you move to some place that's going to be more business friendly. I mean, Nikki Haley kind of chided, the whole, Ron DeSantis on all his fight with Disney and invited Disney to go to South Carolina. We know that's not going to happen, but it was kind of funny to see. I mean, when you're Nikki Haley, you've got to you got to try to get what you can when you can.
Yeah.
So. But that was part of it. It's just that if you're not happy with the climate, move to some place that'll be better.
Yeah,
Texas gained a lot from California. A lot of
Yeah.
corporations picked up and went to Texas.
I mean, Nikki Haley had a fundraiser in Maryland last week that went very well, from what I understand.
But that also happened in Arizona too. Like people from California moved to Arizona, but that kind of changed Arizona's demographics.
Right.
Like
Yes.
Susan was saying, like
it's
it's
just what Susan was referring to. Is that it? And that's kind of the big question mark there. Is just that you have these people who've left, California, Oregon, Washington State.
They're moving to Idaho and Utah,
and they move. They move into Arizona. They've been moving into Nevada, but they're going into Utah and Idaho, and starting to change the mix a little bit. Now with Utah, if they just move to Salt Lake, which has already been kind of Democrat, they can just keep a Democrat.
Yeah.
Just leave the rest of the state alone,
Stay out of Provo.
which is pretty Republican.
I tell you, it's like I remember Nevada was a reliable Republican state when Senator Laxalt represented
I remember it. Yeah.
Nevada. Then we had that crazy nut job Harry Reid.
And then remember, Colorado was a solid Republican state.
That's true. Jeff Kors,
That
remember?
switched.
well,
And-
remember back in
and
Nixon
Arizona-
days, when Nixon was president, California was a Republican state.
So
that was
Reagan too.
Yeah, I mean, look, California had Republican governors. Pete Wilson, George McChin. All these they had all these people, and they actually had elected other people. In the state were there. They even had the majority in their House or the Senate for a little while.
Yeah, the state is
It was there was actually a time when things were going well.
Yeah.
And then it just all went to hell.
Then they voted for Jerry Brown again. That's really when the House, basically when California's prosperity, when you elect Jerry Brown, what is it, the third time when he was elected Attorney General and then Governor, that's what brought down California. The third coming of Jerry Brown, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, B1 Bob, you can't get a guy like that elected today in Southern
Dana
California.
Rohrabacher.
Rohrabacher. Yeah.
Orange County was solid Republican.
Yeah, it was. It was completely
That
different.
was the dream for many young Republicans, to go work in politics, move to Orange County, where they paid their staff. And they said, we could pay you better than the RNC can. I remember they used to do 2 conventions, Don. We used to go to those. Burlingame, San Fran, Sacramento, Orange County, Los Angeles. The good old days.
And San Diego used to be a fairly Republican city.
That's
Remember
where
they had Republican mayors.
Pete Wilson was the mayor there.
Yeah, and then they had another mayor.
Yeah, they had another person that also was there for a number of years.
Yeah.
All right.
California. Next up, Jason Trott. Next up, final thoughts.
I have a short final thought because we're 32 minutes over final thoughts.
Yeah,
that's a typical. Don't think it's a surprise.
We're in extra innings. We're in extra innings. Everyone's not bad
I
at it.
came over that earlier when we were talking about bridges. I just had a bridge fun fact. Did you know the lowest point of the United States interstate system is the McHenry Tunnel?
Really?
Oh yeah.
I think the lowest point is 150 feet below sea level.
Huh.
It's the lowest point of the entire interstate system in Baltimore.
That is a fun fact. That's
That
in
is-
Jeopardy.
that is my
Why
fun
aren't you on
fact and my
Jeopardy,
final
Jason? Why aren't you on Jeopardy?
Well, that literally goes underneath the bay, right?
Yeah. The harbor,
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. The harbor part of the bay.
Okay, I got a couple of final thoughts, and Jason and I were talking about some of these. Would you believe this is $3? $3. A bag of M&Ms. $3. Okay, and I don't care if it is the share size, because in my days, this used to be a regular pack of M&Ms used to be this big. I was over at Safeway and Giant over this past week, and I was just taking pictures, of some of my favorite things. Ice cream is, and these aren't even the half-gallon containers. Ice cream was $5.99, $6.99. I know. Giant has ice cream on sale this week, but you got to buy 3 to get the deal. 3 for $10.99 or something like that, or 3 for $9.99. It's crazy, but you got to buy 3 of them, and you got to have those no-clip coupons, whatever the hell those are that Giant uses. Inflation is still out there. Thank you, Joe Biden. You've made everything. One of my favorite frozen pizzas, McCain's Elios, which is not just Elios, is the best frozen pizza out there. What was the price, Jason? Hold on, let me pull it up. It was
And
just as
Dwight, those remember those ice cream tubs are not half gallons anymore.
they're not. I know.
They've gone down to what, like 48 ounces now, I think, is the
Yeah,
average.
the regular price is $5.99 for 9 slices of Elios pizza, but they're on sale for $4.99 this week at Safeway. But don't dare think of buying a DiGiorno because a DiGiorno pizza, unless if you don't get it on sale, it's $9.99 for DiGiorno pizza. That's on sale for $7.49. Can you believe these prices?
I love how Dwight
Crazy.
is hawking, promoting frozen pizza.
I mean, it's like you go down the pasta aisle, right? They shrunk. I mean, pasta is. I mean, it's really cheap to make. You used to get them like $4 for $1. Those macaroni elbows and the shells and stuff like that. $4 for $1, and now they're like about $3 for one box of pasta. And I mean, and Korean John Pierre says inflation's going down. I haven't seen it. When Safeway sells jalapenos at not per pound, they charge you per jalapeno. That is insanity. They charge 33 cents each for a jalapeno pepper. Isn't that insane? It's like
That's when I feel inflation with fast food, because Roy Rogers today, I never go to Roy, but there's a Roy's where I went, and that was like $13. It was just like a roast beef sandwich, fries, and drinks. That's when I feel inflation.
Well, I mean, look at McDonald's. Their value menu is no. I think it's $2. Right. I don't go to McDonald's that much, but I mean,
well, it's now the 1, 2, 3 menu because the franchises complained that they were losing money off. Because corporate says here's the pricing structure for this, and they need to follow. It's kind of like when Subway was doing all those $5 footlongs.
Yeah.
The problem was that the franchises couldn't. They were losing money by selling that stuff. That's not a winning proposition for them.
I mean, Jason, you're a young guy. How do you make ends meet with? How do you deal with inflation, paying the mortgage, paying bills? Do you have to go? Do you find that you have to go hungry a few nights a week to make ends meet?
Often I have to go hungry.
There you go. And the Democrats don't care.
Down here in Southern Anne Arundel County, we hunt for our food. If I had foxes in my backyard like that, we'd have to eat them.
Very good.
Fox souffle.
I got some rabbits in my yard, Jason. Feel free to come on down.
We have a lot of rabbits here.
Yeah, what was the Bugs Bunny joke about? Like, what was the rabbit stew that I'm trying to remember it now. That was always about
was a vegetarian. He only hunted for sport.
Well, there's something about like what is the rabbit's? There's like a French word for the rabbit stew or something like that, which is like kind of used as kind of a tongue-in-cheek reference to like Bugs Bunny being caught and made into stew. Was it fricassee or something? I don't know.
Fricassee rabbit.
Something, but anyway, it was something that it was like one of those things. It was like rabbit something. It wasn't like rabbit stew, but it wasn't a name for it. It was like it was always the running gag that that if Bugs Bunny were ever caught, he'd be made into this rabbit stew. But probably not fit Wolf Rudd if he's a vegetarian. But he hung in the wall.
There was actually an episode where he's hunting and like Daffy Duck is reading what you could do with rabbit and Bugs is reading, and he goes, I'm actually a vegetarian, and Daffy's like, there's other sports, because he goes, he only hunts for sport. He goes, there's other sports, and he goes, what about tennis? And like he shoots him, and his bill is flipped around or whatever. But classic cartoons. I bet they couldn't show Elmer Fudd shooting Daffy Duck anymore because it'd be too traumatizing to children today. And some adults, frankly. Basically, prices are too high. It's ridiculous. I was, earlier I was looking to, and I do want to get another car this year. But I tell you, I find it harder and harder to pull the trigger on a car that's 80 some $1,000. 80 some thousand.
Mm.
I mean, and that's
There used to be a house cost, like in Flint. I'm used to paying. My first house cost $85,000. That was my house in Flint. I mean, it wasn't like you think about Flint as being like a shack city. It's not that bad, but it was a about 1,200 square foot house, like a starter home. But it was 85,000. That was like a reasonable price for a home back then.
Which
Back
that
in
house
like
would cost you. Yeah.
well, yeah.
The same-
Now it's I can't get a shack for for that much
No, that
money.
same house in Montgomery County would still be like $300,000, $400,000.
Yep.
Probably that wouldn't even be 3, 4 to 5 is what it would be. There's, it's like everything's got, I feel for young people, who don't, who are denied. It makes it harder for them to save. It makes them harder for them to invest their money. To build wealth is really hard. I feel for some of these young people. Then again, a lot of these young people, Jason being the exception to the rule, are a bunch of lazy schmoes who don't want to work at all, and because they got their undergraduate degrees in underwater basket weaving and stuff like that. Another final thought is Monday, June 5th. It is, I believe, is Garrett County's Lincoln Reagan dinner with presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, who schooled Chuck Todd just a few weeks ago when Chuck Todd said, because Vivek Ramaswamy has a biology degree, and he said there's only two genders, and he said, no, there's, and he basically tried to tell him there's more than two genders. And it's like, this is real. I tell you, I have never felt this. It's hard to be positive in this climate, so to speak. It's can't believe it. It is like insanity. I remember my old boss, Paul Wyrick. I go, oh, it ain't that bad. Paul's just grumbling to grumble, but I tell you, it is really bad. Or I'm just getting older.
So here's my thing: is like I don't think you can choose your gender or identify as a different gender, but I mean you can choose your sexuality. I mean that's something that you do have some choice over. But in terms of gender, that's a biological, constraint.
Well,
so I mean you may identify as a different like gender, but I don't know. And of course it gets gray when you start taking hormone replacement therapy and you actually start changing your biology. So the whole transgender thing is
you're
like
still not changing your gender though.
but ultimately, you're not changing your genes.
Yeah.
I mean, you may be changing your physiology, but your genes, do determine your, your gender at birth. And I realize there are rare exceptions to that, but generally speaking, and that's when doctors, tell the parent, hey, your kid is kind of at an indeterminate state. What do you want? And I can understand those are very niche issues, and they do affect a portion of the population, but relatively minor portion.
Yeah.
But instead, the problem is like when you have all these men identifying as females in sports. I mean, we're seeing more and more of these issues where men identifying as women are breaking the women's records or causing discomfort in the changing room.
So much for Title IX, right? So much for Title IX.
Yeah, and you have all these government programs that basically say you need to accept these people, but then what do you do? I mean, there's going to be, I think, more and more of these issues coming out, and I hope that at some point, people will get to the point where it's saying, hey, this is just it's a safety issue, like that if a man can identify as a woman, and expose himself in front of women, that would normally be a crime if you're just identified as a man, but if you identify as a woan, it's suddenly not a crime. So I don't know. That's my main issue.
Here's it. We used to play when we were kids. We played cops and robbers. You pretended to be the robber or you pretended to be the cop. That's all this whole gender nonsense. I'm pretending to be a man. That doesn't make you a man. That doesn't make you a woman.
But for me, the shocking thing is just everybody's just sort of plays along out of tolerance. So we all
it's like when a little kid says, "I'm invisible. You can't see me."
The floor is lava.
It's cute for a little while, but then it gets annoying. But. And I always like to leave on a little bit of good news. Oh, here, a little bit of good news. There is a lefty blogger named The Illuminati. She has all sorts of gems like hostile architecture and how horrible the Mormon churches, how horrible Catholics are, how horrible Christians are, and how horrible propaganda is. Yes, she actually did a hour-long video on Paw Patrol being part of propaganda, but she picked a fight with a lawyer about copyrights, and I don't know if you the tear-off effect that everybody uses in the highlighting effect. She claims that the lawyer ripped her off, and I'm thinking like, you can't copyright a style. You can't, like, I mean, we use those same effects all the times in publications and stuff like that. So, if anything, if that's the case, you're copywriting me because I may have been one of the first people to use that effect. Uh, but she's been taking a lot of flack. She's just a horrible, horrible person. Like many liberals, who think of themselves holier than thou, and she's just a horrible person. And I'm glad she is finally getting what she deserves. She trashed President Reagan. She deletes negative comments on her YouTube channel, and she thinks she can just like she did a hit job on Amway, a great corporate, it's are they crooks? No, it's like buyer beware, so to speak. If you want to join Amway, join Amway. That's it's America. The government should not be doing any of that stuff. And it's great that she basically is seeing her come up, and so one liberal YouTuber may be gone from the scene, and that's a good thing. And final thoughts: ACLU, stop lying. Find me a state where people aren't allowed to vote that are registered voters. Just show me one state where people have been denied the right to vote, because they got this new commercial where they talk about how black and brown people are denied the right to vote in states. Our freedoms are on assault by the Republicans and conservatives and blah blah blah. It's like I'll take you seriously if you didn't defend the Nazis' right to march in Spokane, But ACLU, horrible people. With that, that's all I've got. Any other thoughts? Good night, everyone, and we'll see everyone again next Friday.
All right. See you guys.
Yeah.
Sorry for my tardiness.
Yep.